2 years ago, a rumor came out that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni were going to erase the sequel trilogy in the Ahsoka show using the World Between Worlds. And this was ridiculed.
Oh.
It was ridiculed 2 years ago, and rightfully so. The idea of Disney erasing the sequel trilogy is hard for even me to believe, that they have created this and then will quit. So I was like, it's not true. But here we are with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau in the Ahsoka show, in the World Between Worlds, and it's like all of it's there except the actual erasure of the sequel trilogy, which I still don't think they're going to erase it. I have a theory that they are going to create an alternate course of events in which the sequel trilogy will exist and where this new reality has opened up where we don't know where it's headed, but it is coexisting. That's what I think they're going to do. I hope I'm right, and I'll make my case in a little bit that part of what I saw in episode 5 strongly suggests brilliant awareness of storytelling in Star Wars with the exact sensibility and focus on exactly what they need to if they're going to do just that. I could be wrong. Like, I could watch episode 6 and be like, oh, never mind. Like, they ruined it. This meant nothing. But there's evidence that they're trying to do something awesome with this show. I'll just say that. And like Retro, I loved a lot of the sequences in this World Between Worlds with them different memories. Quick shout out to Ariana Greenblatt.
Yes.
Young Ahsoka. When they first cast it,
they
first cast a young Ahsoka, I was like, what? It's not Rosario Dawson? I was like, who's this? Who's this like girl? And then as she was going on, I was like, I like her. I didn't know it was Ariana Greenblatt.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I don't know who this is, but she's like nailing this young Ahsoka role. Yeah. She played young Gamora in the Avengers. She played Sasha in the Barbie movie that came out. And now she's Ahsoka Tano. And I was like,
oh, she was in the Barbie movie. Oh,
yeah.
Who had who at first I hated her. I didn't like her character. But she ended up, she was brutal. But she ended up having an arc, and I ended up liking her character, and she actually carried a lot of poignancy, and I thought she carried a certain gravitas of a mother-daughter, a wounded relationship that was healing. I thought she really got that in Barbie.
Yeah.
And I loved her as Ahsoka Tano. I was like,
oh, she was great. She was great. Her
And
fight scenes were great too.
Dude, there's this. Go ahed, say it.
Yeah. She was fantastic, and physically, I was like, wow. Can we continue the show with this girl?
There's a scene where Anakin is like, come on, and it's the first time we really saw this, right? We never really saw Clone Wars Anakin in live action, and here's young Ahsoka Tano, and then he starts running. We've seen it in the Clone Wars animated show where he's running and he's blocking laser beams, and she was running behind him, and she's like reacting to explosions, and she's like blocking. I was like, look at that. She's like crushing this. Like, she's physical, fast, athletic. I thought she was a great Ahsoka Tano and very convincing that she was there blocking these laser bolts rushing into a battle. And, I don't think I would have thought I would believe a scene like that, but she nailed it.
Well, one thing I really enjoyed about her performance is the emotional part that she was able to convey. Like, being able to we finally, after 5 episodes, we're finally getting into Ahsoka's thoughts, finally, which is I'm very upset at, but I'm also like, okay, at least she's doing it, right? She's doing it. So, she was fantastic at doing that while also reacting to her environment. Now, seeing how she's reacting to all of the death around her in the battles, and just seeing, okay, well, so this is still in her mind. This is still fresh in her mind. She doesn't want to be part of a war. But, and unfortunately, we're in Star Wars, right? She has to be a part of this war. So I think it was great to see her deal with that in some way, shape, or form. And I hope they do mention this a little bit. I mean, it feels like she is kind of over it by the end of the episode, but and it's a shame that Rosaria didn't get a chance to act this part, but at least we got something of a backstory You know?
Well, I totally agree. There is a scene, and this is why I think something is shifting in Ahsoka away from bad storytelling and potentially into great storytelling. Potentially, there was a scene where, and we could go back and kind of walk through this, but there is a second set where that is
Unfortunately, we're watching Star Wars, so
she has to be part of the war. That is great. But so the first segment is her fighting Anakin in the World Between Worlds, where it's Rosario Dawson, and they have a little bit of banter, and the banter is okay. But he lights his lightsaber, and they start to have a lightsaber battle. And he frames this as training. He's like, I'm going to complete your training, and that sounds like Star Wars to me.
Yeah.
And she goes, okay. She calls him master. You know, that she is again assuming the role of Padawan. And he lights his lightsaber, and he frames this lesson as, do you want to live or do you want to die? And I think this is excellent. He's referring to her physically. She fell off the cliff. Now we know in episode 4 she was meant to die. If she fell, like that, she was going to hit the water, and that would be it for Ahsoka. So he's saying, I pulled you out of that final moment, but it's going to be in your hands. Are you going to survive this fall or not? And the answer to whether she survives the fall seems to be whether or not she's going to find the will to fight and live. And that is part of Anakin's lesson here. So, and he comes at her, and again, I thought it was great, fast lightsaber action. I mean, he's coming at her pretty hard, and she's like blocking, and there's sparks again off the lightsabers, and it looks good. I hit pause a couple times, and I was like, that looks good. Like, that looks cool. And with that background in the World Between Worlds, where they're on that like star bridge, and he's coming at her with the blue lightsaber as Anakin from Revenge of the Sith, and her with her double elegant white lightsabers. I was like, it just looks good. You know, I thought it looked good, and it felt like a lightsaber battle. And she gets one on him. Like she force punches him or something. Did you guys catch exactly what she did?
She kicks him, I think. Well, no. Did she? Yeah, I think she kicks him in the face.
Okay, she lands a blow basically, and what I appreciated is she's like, looks like you don't have much to teach me, and Anakin smirks.
I love that part. Yeah,
it reminded me a lot of Anakin from the prequels, where he had that kind of boyish, you know, I'm kind of messing around with the dark side, you know, like almost that smirky getting away with something look that I didn't like in the prequels. At the time, back then, but has grown on me. And seeing him do it again, I was like, oh, there is that. Like, this is Anakin. Like I felt like I was watching Anakin Skywalker. And of course, he goes, I still have things to teach you. And he like knocks the ground out.
Yes.
And that's when she finds herself falling into a dreamscape. Is the best way I could describe it.
Yes, that's what I would call it. A
dream. I would call it that too. Can I go back just 1 second?
Yeah.
Before we go to that thing when Doug was talking about the World Between Worlds and what it is, and I didn't know what it was, but I had heard this rumor as well 2 years ago that maybe they're setting this up for some erasure of the sequel trilogy using something that was introduced. The World Between Worlds had been introduced when was it Rebels that it was introduced?
Rebels.
Well, okay, there may be some way to go.
Potentially also in the Clone Wars with the Mortis.
Okay, but. So, you know, a lot of people want to see that. Other people don't. But I mean, there's also, it's like, hey, we could completely redo this. Here's some kind of methods. Okay, so that's cool. So I get that. If you're on board with that, that would be cool. But here, from a storytelling perspective, ignoring whether or not you want that to happen or not, I'm just talking about from a storytelling perspective. When you're talking about the World Between Worlds and what it is and the ability to move through time and stuff, to me, it sounds like a new way to introduce a way for there to be no consequences again. This seems it seems to be deliberately interesting. Like if you're going to do erasing the sequel trilogy, then you're deliberately introducing it as a way to come up with no consequences, so that we can muck things up and change things. But on the other hand, I'm skeptical. Sometimes time travel stories can be done well. Sometimes it's very rare. Sometimes I wouldn't want to introduce it, but in limited circumstances, like Terminator, you can do it. Terminator 1 and 2, you know, you can do it. and perhaps Back to the Future, because that's lighthearted. And
Oh, yeah.
So it can be done in limited circumstances.
Star Trek
But on the
4.
whole, I'm against things like time travel because of what we were talking about. Here is a great way for us to come up with a great way to come up with no consequences for actions.
That's the multiverse problem that Marvel has.
And Star Trek, because we're still in this stupid timeline of Star Trek that like, why are we back in the past of Star Trek when we should have been in the future of Star Trek?
Yeah. So, and funny enough, Heath and I took a deep dive in Star Trek for The Voyage Home, and one of the things that we said was that thank God Star Trek never went back and addressed time travel again. It's like Kirk goes back in time, and it's like, we don't talk about that.
It works. Okay, so that's another movie where that particular movie is also one that works on a standalone basis. That one works
because they didn't allow it to get in to invade the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
At the retro's point, when they do let it come in,
2009.
You start losing your audience on some level because, like she's saying, the consequences. Well, we'll just go back to the world between worlds and do it again. So,
well, some fans believe that Ahsoka herself is immortal. She can't die. They won't let her die because there are so many times when she should have died, and they just keep on saving her.
Well, do you know, I have a solution.
James is backing up Retro Nerd Girl. Retro Nerd Girl, yes, we've been waiting for a chronologically appropriate Star Trek for now over a decade. Oh, and Stray is backing me up. Stray says, I agree with Heath. The safety net plot armor is lame.
Yeah, so I have a solution to this from a writing perspective.
Okay.
If you're going to do it, close it off. So have an episode or something where you destroy the world between worlds after this. It can never, and have them say, once you do this, you are on this line and for forever. You are accepting your consequences in your world forethat and close it off. Have them be like, that's what we want.
Yeah, or this is the last time we can bring you here. Like, and I just like get out and live and die.
Yeah, Puss in Boots. The second he was down to his last life in The Last Wish, now it matters. So there's always something human about that, where the fantastic world where you can get 9 lives is over. You're on your last one, and now he's like us. Now he has to deal with this. The fact that you screw up once, that's it. You make one dumb decision, and that's it. We like that. And Puss in Boots: The Last Wish really resonated with audiences. It seemed like a spinoff of a spinoff on its 3rd sequel. It shouldn't have been successful at all. It was a total hit. I think because it hit that theme. So I think you can take that theme. Basically, this is the world between worlds. We've used this to reset galaxies before, but this would be the last time. And now your galaxy is on a quest. If you destroy yourselves, there's no going back. And then have the characters choose that. We want that. And I think audiences would accept that. You get one get out of jail free card here on your plot armor.
Yeah, I would say, okay, they could do that. I'm with you, Doug. But I would also say that this is a weird place to do it in this TV show that I don't know how many people are watching. And I like people like me, even though I'm a Star Wars fan, I don't understand because I didn't watch all of Rebels. You could have done something cool with that. I'm convinced. This is a cliche thing to say that there was a story here. Like you're talking about starting with Thrawn. So much that Doug, watch our other discussion on Ahsoka when Doug said how this should have started. You could have captivated us, and then if you're going to do something really crazy like do a erasure of the sequel trilogy, you got to tell us at least where they're standing. And go ahead and include that in this show, and then people could have been riveted. And then I think what you're saying is right. If you're going to do something that it needs to be their decision, it needs to be clear. This is not something where anytime anybody dies, we can come back to the world between worlds and pull somebody out or something like that. Like I was really hoping that they don't bring Anakin back to the future. Like I'm really hoping that Anakin doesn't walk. Like that seems really, really dumb. I don't want to push anything past anybody. But on the other hand, that seems so dumb. That might have been what my friend was talking about. That like Anakin Skywalker could walk out in post Return of the Jedi. I don't know if that's even.
Oh my God, Heath! Hey, you get your damn hands off Anakin! Luke is helping Anakin like hook up with Padme.
Sable says Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is utterly fantastic, easily the best animated film since the first Spider-Verse, and a fantastic film.
There you go.
Wow.
So because it's taking away that plot armor for this character, and you see how it affects him, and it brings that character down to our level because we deal with it. you jump off the edge of a boat to make your friends laugh, and you jump into shark infested water. That simple, stupid mistake, and you're gone.